AJ, welcome. Stephanie, welcome. You know why we're here, and that's for Charity Warrior 10K on 10/1. Today is 10/1, so we're on a mission to help raise $10,000 for the people of Orissa, India. The cool thing about that one mission is that it became two once we pulled in the entrepreneurs, because not only are we helping to raise money for water, but we're also helping to bring clarity to the people out there who are watching and who are here. So welcome all. Then this is Q&A. So AJ, Stephanie, take it away. Stephanie, I know you got some questions.
I do. I was just telling Mike before we got on the air that I want to be starting this huge project, which seems huge to me, and trying to break down the process into little bite-sized pieces, because I was complimenting Mike about how organized and professional his website looked, and then what nobody else offline is seeing is how many people there are behind the scenes testing the microphones and the live feeds and all of that. He's got a great team of people to help him out. So when you start a big project, how do you kind of break it down into pieces to make it manageable?
Is that to me or to Mike?
Yeah, no, to you.
Okay. Because Mike would know a bit more than me. I don't know. What the fuck do I know? I don't know anything. Yeah, I mean, well, I guess firstly, when people, funny, I was just talking to people about a couple of people about this last night at a book tour event we had in East London, and somebody was talking about an idea that they had, and the idea was very large in scope, and it was almost too large. I mean, in some ways, you have to know what is manageable for whatever amount of team that you have. You know, in the beginning, Melissa and I, like at Misfit, we've always been very ambitious. Right. We've always wanted to do these great big things, but we haven't always had the squad or the partnerships or the people to pull it off. And one great example of this is in 2008, I had this idea for a web application called TwitGift, which is sending physical gifts via the Twitter API. You know about it, Stephanie. And then in 2009, Melissa and I were basic. Misfit was me and Melissa bartering websites for bagels, right. and places to stay. So we weren't, we were just gypsies with like the ability to put some like half-stream websites together. So, but I thought, okay, we're going to do this, and we put it together, and we poured our pennies together, and we ended up building this web application. But we didn't have the partnerships, the staff, anything to put that together. So, I think the first thing is to consider what the idea is. Maybe there's a smaller version of it that could be useful. Secondly, I think one thing that I've learned is developing partnerships with people. A lot of times you don't have, when you're starting out, you don't have the cash to pay people, and then people rely on volunteerism, and getting somebody like scratching each other's back. But the problem with that is, my friend David Beza always says you can't run a business on favors. You know, you can run a hobby on favors for a little bit, not a business, or and what he means by that is a significant project of any kind. So developing strategic partnerships with people is useful. Okay.
So I have another question then, because you just mentioned partnerships, and I totally agree with that. So with my initiative, I get that I'm going to have partnerships, and I get that I'm going to have to stand on the shoulders of giants and kind of leverage my friends and my network's platform. But one really good way to do that is when you have something to offer. I don't want to go to people and say, hey, like the I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine kind of works. But if my platform is smaller than yours, it's hard to go up to someone and say, can you help me out with this? And just have that and not really have something to offer in return. So how do you deal with that? How do you manage that?
Give me something specific, like what you're talking about. Because, for instance, like if you were, like when you say team, if you're in need of, say, a designer, back in the day, I didn't know how to front end code. So what I ended up doing, because I didn't have the money to do that, but I needed to have somebody like that in order to do, and I couldn't find anybody to partner with me because I had no cash to offer them, and even the cash was so slight I couldn't get anybody serious. So what I did was I created an internship at the local university in New York City as like this official internship, and it was basically me and Melissa homeless offering this internship as Misfit Incorporated, and we got like this, you know, senior level design student to work for us for free, but what they got was to you know, they got to develop 3 or 4 amazing portfolio pieces. And it was a value add for them. That I would consider a strategic partnership. It's just a creative way to get to your goal, considering the constraints that you have right now. But specifically, like, what are you talking about?
Okay, well, so if we're going to get into the very specifics.
Let's do it.
So remember, Jason and I were talking about passion and not really knowing where we were headed when we were in Fargo. So that got me thinking about passion a lot. And I subsequently had a conversation with my daughter who wants to be a writer. And she said, but you know, writers don't really make a lot of money, so I'll probably have to have a day job. And that, like, absolutely broke my heart, because I was like, dude, you're like 14 years old. Please dream a little bit longer. Yeah. And then, you know, side story to that, she's dealing with, like, modern culture expectations, and so she refuses to self-publish because she thinks that if a publishing house doesn't, like, give her the check of approval, it's like she's saying that her book is good enough, and that's not good enough for her. So wow, that's a whole other story. But 14.
Wow, I couldn't even walk when I was 14 years old. Like, I was just like, holy shit.
Talking about this whole passion thing, and the other kind of moment that sort of really tweaked me to say, okay, I really need to do something about that, is that I was listening to C.C. Chapman at one of his Amazing Things Will Happen book tours.
Oh boy, yeah.
And he was telling this story about this girl, this young woman who was sitting in the front row and was saying how she didn't really know where she was headed, she didn't know what she wanted to do with her life, and, you know, C.C. kind of chuckled and said, okay, are you married? Like, do you have a husband to take care of, kids to take care of, a mortgage? And she's like, no. So he said, go live a little and then come back to see me. He's like, there's no such thing as a quarter life crisis or whatever. Yeah. And then I was like, oh my God, there is such a thing as a midlife crisis, and I'm dangerously close to that. And I didn't really like what that kind of, how that made me feel. Yeah. So anyways, so I was kind of, you know, thinking about that, and then how my daughter is like, well, I can't have big dreams because I'm not going to be able to attain them anyway. So I feel like we're telling our kids to go to school, do well, get a job, and they'll have a great life. Mm-hmm. But our generation knows that that doesn't work, because you have people like Jason and I who wake up, like, you know, X amount of years later and still are like, huh, so really, like, this is all there is to it. Right. And then you have people like you and Melissa who do, like, you know, grandiose kind of, you know, I'm just going to leave it all, I'm going to write my own manifesto, and I'm going to, you know, just, and when you have the opportunity to do that, it's amazing. But, you know, I'm a single mom, and so there's got to be a middle. So
of course.
I've been thinking about this concept called passion shoot, which is like how we can create community around people who want to follow their passion. Mm. But this, by the same token, how that doesn't have to look like what your journey looks like or what someone else's journey looks like. I think, you know, you have a lot of people now who think because of people like you, which I think, you know, encourage others to dream big, and they're like, I just want to quit my job and just travel the world and do all of that, but that doesn't work. And I know I've heard you in your talks say, don't do that.
yeah. I mean, I'm very upfront about that. Yeah.
So it doesn't work for everybody, but, you know, there's got to be a middle, and you have to be able to make incremental steps in your daily life to be able to get you to either find your passion if you haven't found it, or support your passion, or all of that. So what it looks like to me is some sort of a website where people can contribute and support each other and hear from people who've followed their passion. And I'd love to have a sort of virtual conference like this with people who share their stories, but have an opportunity to answer questions. And then at the end of that, I'm sure there's a book. You know, I've bought I'm sure this is how your head works too. You kind of come up with a project and like the 125 possible names it could have, and then you go and buy all of the domain names. I currently own way too many. What's that?
I've got a farm of domain names. Yeah, that I just keep in
I
mind.
have like 25 passion-related domain names right now. And just by the content that I'm seeing come across, on Facebook and Twitter, I think people are trying to get some direction, but they don't really know where to get it, and they don't necessarily maybe associate with whoever's doling out the advice for one reason or the other.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. This is like the big project that I'm thinking about. But sitting back from where I am, which is, the reason I became passionate about it is because I didn't necessarily know what my passion was. So I'm not necessarily the authority on following your passion, because I got here because I didn't, or I forgot what my passion was.
Right.
So, the people I'm thinking about that would be great inspirations would be like someone like you who did like that completely crazy thing, and who just, and then you have someone like maybe a Pam Slim who did it more incrementally and
wisely.
Had a family to support.
Yeah, we should say. Yeah.
I'm not judging.
I am. Don't worry about it.
But so do you see the position that I'm in, like to get to stand on the shoulders of those giants from where I'm standing is really, really intimidating.
So, I mean, here's one thing that I think, I'm just, obviously now I've heard this, I think it's fantastic, and I think it's fantastic because of, a lot of people are out there talking about follow your dreams and passion and blah, blah, blah. The web is littered with that. I think what's fantastic about this is that you've keyed in on something that's very significant, which is that life is not always lived on the fringes.
Right.
People like me and Melissa, we're fucking crazies, and we know it. We're on the fringes, and that shouldn't be the example. Now, that might pull people out of their comfort zone closer to who they are, but that's not where the majority of life is lived, and I'm completely cognizant. Like this whole fallacy of solopreneurship. I don't think that everybody. I employ 15 people. I don't think that everybody should be a solopreneur. I think that a lot of people can find themselves and do fantastic, life-changing work. So there's a lot of that, going on. I think that particularly, if you hone in on that, then that's something unique that other people aren't talking about. Because everybody's talking about all the way out there. And no one focuses on this middle ground of, hey, I just want to start this. So I'm not in a position to leave everything. What can I do? And if you collated stories of people that are in that position currently, that are currently working their way out and maybe like halfway through in the bubble, I never hear those. Honest to God, I never hear those stories of anybody that's kind of just like on the bubble and just making it work, maybe like right in the middle of the process. You never hear it. You only hear about it when they're on the other side, and then it looks like there was never this middle ground, which is obviously not the case.
And they were an overnight success, and it all worked out perfectly.
And it's bullshit, and that's completely bullshit. And Melissa and I, and the 4 weeks that we spent living under a bus bench in Victoria train station can prove it, but nobody sees things like that. So I think that's great. I think B, and this is kind of my first little bit of advice that I think would be very useful when approaching people that you may want to interview or be part of this, part of your first kind of roundup, however you put that together, would be, this is something that's dawned on me in the last probably 2 years, that people, like, if you, and I don't mean you, I mean the proverbial you, but if you are not passionately fighting, like furiously fighting for something, or vehemently fighting against something, it's very easy to be kind of pushed into the plain vanilla center where no one will notice. So in other words, like in many ways, we either have to pick up a banner, a very bold banner, and say, this is what I stand for, and you dart right at the center of it, or you pick out the biggest guy in the bar and you say, this is the guy, this is the problem that I see, this is what's fucking people up, and I'm going to take this thing down. And I think that in this case, I mean, there's an enemy, and the enemy could be either complacency or fear or whatever that
I think
that
fear is huge.
And particular, I mean, so I think, like, I don't know, angling this platform towards that so that it's not rounded edges. It's very sharp, and you decide who that enemy is or what that banner stands for, and then articulating that in a very short, very polemic manifesto is by far the most valuable thing that you can do when when you launch. Don't do it after, like the day you launch.
Have it before.
Because when you approach people, it's something tangible and significant, particularly if you get it, and I think you should get it designed, illustrated. Make sure that you take it very, very seriously, though. It's not just a Word doc that you put up there with something. You really take your time with. It makes it much easier to approach anyone because it looks like something of significance, and I think that's when a lot of people, they're very scared to take themselves or their ideas seriously. So am I. I was terrified. I mean, but so was I, Stephanie. I swear to God, I only launched Pursuit of Everything a year ago.
I know, it's crazy.
And when I launched that the manifesto on day one, I was mortified. I mean, you can ask more. I was sitting in my New York apartment with my hand on the publish button, just thinking, dude, nobody is going to get me. And I am going to be the greatest fool of all because there's no retraction. Now I put my ideas out there and I put them out as boldly as I can. And I obviously took my time with the design and everything to make it just perfect, showing people that I think that the more you work on something, the more you show them that it's worth it. So the more you're exposed. And it was and you're gonna feel that. You're gonna feel this.
It's not even out there, and I feel it. Like
you already feel it.
Every time it comes out of my mouth, I'm like, I can't believe I'm pretentious enough to think that I can do this.
But everybody, I thought the same fucking thing. I thought the same thing. I thought, who am I? Who am I for people to listen to? I'm just some fucking gypsy, and and I run this little company called Misfit, and most people wouldn't even be. Who the fuck am I to speak like this? And then you recognize that anyone who has anything to say they're dealing with that same that same context. None of us, we're all frail, and then none of us feel like we should be there. And none of us feel, but until someday, way in the future, where you might kick your feet up and say, "Shit, I did it." But those there's a long period there where you just. So, anyways, I think that. Obviously, you're feeling it already because it's something that's important to you, and I can tell, like, just talking about it. Now you're taking it. Now you've talked about it publicly. Now you're like, oh shit, I got to do. How am I gonna? Oh my god! And
now I can't take it back.
Right.
So yeah.
So,
damn you.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyways, I think if you did that, that'd be great. And then in terms of getting, if you had like some manifesto, you launch really strong. Make sure you have a strong design. I cannot. Say enough how much design matters. Well,
so Jackie is helping me with watercolor illustrations.
Dude, that's amazing. That's amazing. She's so good. She's so talented.
I know. Who knew? That's crazy.
I mean, it's extraordinary what she's coming out with these days.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good that you have that. It's good to partner with a real artist and have that baked in. Even the website should be very, very well designed. Everybody judges. I spent weeks on my website before I launched. And the day I launched, everybody thought it was like, people think I've had Pursuit of Everything for 10 years, No, it is a year old.
Don't tell anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry to interrupt.
Sorry.
We're coming at an end here.
Oh.
And I stayed out of it because I really wanted the time to be there. One quick note to just put in there is the thought of, on the side of who do I think I am to be doing it. On the opposite side, there is who am I not to.
Right.
Like that's that kind of balance of just like screw it, because it's the same thing here. My buddy Joel, who you were on the in the green room with before you came on, he was the one who pushed me to go from 4,500 to 10,000.
Oh, good for him.
Wow.
Right, where he was like,
Wow.
dude, with your network and your skills, you should be doing much more. And I had that pause where I'm like,
Oh God.
it's about energy.
Yeah.
And what if I don't make any? What if I don't raise any money? What if I fail? What if?
Yeah.
At the same time, I know one thing is so sure is that I will never be the same. That was my only guarantee. That everything that I failed with, the next time I didn't start at the same point. I'm here. I know something a little bit more. I'm smart enough to say, if I'm going to do this, I need a team. And I started asking people who I know and trust and who had different skills, who had web, who had graphics, who had technical, who can, when this sound is not working, Joel can run down and look at this stuff. You know? So just something to take into consideration.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Boy, I just wish we had another place to just say, hey, you guys go ahead, keep on going.
Yeah, I know.
Keep this conversation going. But we have a full day. We have to jump on to the next call. But I did want to say thank you so much for both of you for being here. AJ, I know you guys did a lot of stuff. Give Melissa a hug for me because I know it's going crazy.
I will.
But I look forward to connecting with you guys another time.
Likewise, man.
And
South by
thank
the
you.
beer's on me.
Yes. Okay. Cool. I'll remember that.
All right.
And Mike, I'll buy you a beer in Phoenix.
Okay. Ooh, 2 beers. I'm taking
go.
it. You are witness here, and people in the.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
See you later. See you later, Stephanie.
See ya.